Okay, Octopus, our English lesson today, you are going to be planning for your writing this week. So by the end of the week and the beginning of next week, you are going to write a first person recount of chapter 2. So what is a first person recount? So a great example of a first person recount is a diary entry. First person recounts are something that tells you about an occurrence from the past. It's happened to you, so it's going to be written in the first person, and it's a recount of someone's life, okay, or something that's happened in their life. And it will include 3 sections: an orientation, which introduces the recount and it tells us who, what, where, when, answering the 5 W's. Then our second section tells us things that happened in chronological order, and then a conclusion to end with some extra information or a personal comment about the events. So we want lots of feelings in our first person recount because you are telling it as if it is you. So you are going to be Joe writing what has happened in chapter 2. So your conversation with your dad about wanting to move schools because you are being bullied and called names. So today, all of you are going to create a plan for your first person recount. And then moving on to goals, I want you to create a little mind map of any vocabulary that you can magpie from chapter 2. And if you want to challenge yourself moving on to platinum, you could create 2 or 3 sentences that you might want to use in your recount. But everybody, at least today, I want you to write a plan for your recount. So your summary from yesterday is going to help you. Today you are going to plan for writing, thinking about what you want to write in each section of your first person recount. You're going to use the subheadings below to make your plan. So in your English book, you'll write each of these subheadings and underline them. And underneath each one, you can bullet point what you want to say. For example then, the orientation, we need to include who, what, where, when and why. So I know that it was Joe and Mr. Spud who is involved, and I know they were in the living room. I know that they're discussing or talking about Joe wanting to move schools and him being bullied. So we've answered who, we've answered what and where. When was it? I know it was in the evening, so I could say yesterday evening as an example. And why? Well, I've already mentioned that. They are talking about it because he is being bullied and wants to move schools. So already in 3 bullet points, I have written a plan of what I need to include in my orientation. So then I'd put my second subheading, which is series of events, and I'd start to write the bits I need to mention. So yesterday when you summarised what happened in chapter 2, this is going to help you here, because the first thing that happened is that Joe told his dad all the names he's being called at school. Okay, so that's the first section of my second paragraph. So you might want to talk about how Joe is feeling about that. If it's a first person recount, he'll be talking a lot about his emotions. Okay, and then the next thing, so perhaps your next point would be Dad was shocked by this news. And then you could go on to say Joe asked to move schools. Okay, so you are summarising chapter 2 in your series of events, saying what you would include in your recount if you are writing as Joe. And finally, your conclusion, your extra information. So that might be something about a hope for the future, perhaps, or again, more emotions about how Joe is feeling. So he knows by the end of it that he's going to go to the local comprehensive school. So he might be excited about making a new friend. So maybe I will make a new friend. We could even change that into a rhetorical question and use a question mark, achieving one of our Year 4 standards. Okay, so your task today, writing under each of these subheadings the things you want to include in your recount, almost like a diary entry from Jo telling me what's happened from chapter 2. Remembering that everybody is doing the plan. If you're moving on to gold, you could make a mind map of vocabulary to use in your recount, and if you are doing platinum, then you can think of some sentences to include, perhaps including that rhetorical question we've just talked about for the conclusion. Any questions, please let me know. Send me an email, octopus@watersideprimary.org.uk.